Hello, I'm Karen Taylor from the Color Vowel Chart and Blue Canoe. I'd like to answer a question that comes up from teachers and some learners fairly often, and it's a question of accent. That question revolves around looking at the color vowel system screen in Blue Canoe. Here you're going to notice that there's what might seem like a gap right here in the middle, and I get different kinds of questions from different people about what could belong there. Most recently, I've received the question as to why you don't see Auburn dog in that collection of vowel sounds. Now, Auburn dog aw refers to this vowel sound on the chart right here. So Auburn dog aw, as distinct from its close cousin, olive sock ah. I'm going to model the two sounds so that you're clear on how they can be distinct. Ah, aw. Now, I said can because some speakers of English don't make a distinction between the two, either possibly in their own speech or in the way they perceive them. What I mean by that is that a word like caught, I caught the ball, and I'm speaking here with my Western United States accent, would be olive for me. Olive, sock, caught. I caught the ball. But someone from the East might say caught. I caught the ball, which would be Auburn dog caught. Caught, caught. Okay. And so for those of us from the West, the caught the ball belongs in olive, as does a cot. Cot, meaning the thing you sleep on, maybe when you're camping. Okay. So there's this accent variation that plays between these two vowel sounds that for some of us is one category of perception and production, possibly. And I say possibly because every speaker of English is a little bit different. And so you can't really predict exactly how one person is going to say a collection of words. Now, the question that's come up specifically is about Blue Canoe and why Auburn isn't in there. And then what does that mean for the learner? Specifically, the question that came up is, what if a learner has been trained with a teacher who has Auburn in their dialect or their accent? And will that learner be penalized when they play the games and do the exercises in Blue Canoe? Now, I'm happy to answer in a positive that this will not hurt them, and I'll tell you why. The reason we haven't included Auburn in this chart here is that we actually have created one category that's friendly to both. So whenever you see olive marked in an exercise, it's going to receive Auburn and olive pronunciations of that word. I'll give you an example of that. I'm actually going to share my screen in Blue Canoe so that you can see how that literally plays out. Okay, so here we are. Under the lessons that you see here in Blue Canoe, I'm going to go into vowel focus, and you'll see that there's actually an activity that's dedicated to olive sock. So there are 6 sentences in every lesson, and so I'm going to go ahead and use Auburn pronunciation for these olive marked words. And if you are a speaker of English who has both olive and Auburn, you'll see that these are marked even when whether they're truly olive only words, okay, like problem, olive sock problem, as well as when they could be Auburn for some of you, like parking, parking. Not my accent, but a lot of people say parking. I say parking, but they're both correct. And we've basically trained Blue Canoe on a number of different speakers. So to be clear, the voice of Blue Canoe is my voice, but the ear of Blue Canoe is not my ear only. We've trained the artificial intelligence in Blue Canoe on a number of English speakers in North America. And so this category that you see here is going to listen with accent tolerant ears, if you want to think of it that way, that accepts olive and Auburn, and yet is sensitive to what we might not want to hear, which would be for the learner, we want to train them away from the temptation to use rose, problem, for example. Rose boat problem. Okay. So we're trying to provide feedback to the learner that edges them into a more comprehensible pronunciation of each word, and at the same time, not punish or overly correct somebody who's using an appropriate range of vowel sounds between olive and auburn. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to do a quick demonstration. I'm going to record. Listen to the target. Parking can be a real problem. Notice that in the voice here, I used problem. That's an olive sound, but I'm going to use auburn when I record. Here we go down here. Parking can be a real problem. It's gone up to the cloud. It's being assessed. And it got a 100%. Let's continue to the next sentence and do another test. They've been gone on a long holiday. Notice that both of those were olive, gone, and holiday. I'm going to say gone and holiday. Here we go. They've been gone on a long holiday. Okay, so that 99%, we should give kind of a 5 to 6 point wiggle room, if you will. That is perfectly, in the pocket, let's call it, meaning it's been successful. Okay, and one more. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry, which is olive sock sorry in the markup here and in my accent, and loss, olive sock loss, but I'll use auburn. Here we go. I'm sorry for your loss. Okay, so this is just a quick demonstration of how we've trained Blue Canoe to accept a range of pronunciations, especially down here in that that what we call the low back vowel area. And this in mouth is coming down from the front. Yeah, ah. And these two merely vary by lip rounding and a bit of some slight tongue differences that really aren't very important when it comes to being understood. So whether I say coffee or coffee, they're both comprehensible. And therefore, Blue Canoe allows both, right? So while you might see, and you will see just one symbol, meaning the olive sock ah symbol, you will be able to use both olive and auburn. And therefore, you don't need to be worried, in other words, about the accent that you, the teacher, might be modeling versus what the learner might be producing based on the cues that we give them. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. This has been an interesting sort of topic for me. It's come out of conversations I've had with teachers about accent. I want everyone to know that accent variation is actually important to include in instruction, meaning we don't need to be afraid of providing the one right model for learners, or about learners struggling with another accent when they encounter it. We're growing our learners' awareness so that they can listen to a variety of Englishes and be understood through what we have in common. And what we have in common is stress location and an approximation of the right color vowel, meaning as long as they are close to each other, there's a good chance it will be quite comprehensible. And there are some instances, of course, where being exactly in the right pocket will be the difference between one word and another, right? But in the case of olive and auburn, there aren't very many cases where misunderstanding happens based on this interchange. Okay, great. Hey, thanks for joining me for this conversation about accent and color vowel and Blue Canoe. Have a great day.